we'll move on. And next up, we're actually a bit late on this news. It kind of snuck under our noses, but the Lions hired two new analytics coaches, one of them being Michael Pelfrey, who was previously an analytics intern with the team for, I believe, around the last 2 years, it's stated. And the second one being Caio Brigente. I believe I said that right, who he was recently one of the college division finalists at the 2020 Big Data Bowl, and he also created the fan boo meter at this recent draft in 2020. Again, not exactly huge news, but this is kind of important considering that some teams, we've all seen it with baseball, we've seen it with NBA as well, that a lot of these teams are hiring these analytics people who study way more than just like financial contracts and stuff. Because that's, I believe, when fans hear analytics, they think financial aspects and they're just controlling money, but really they're looking at more things such as third down percentages and how often to go on fourth down or how often to kick it from a certain distance or in this type of weather, and just thousands of random percentages and different things. And that's what they determine and kind of relate to coaches and staff on how to maybe game plan in certain aspects of the team. Like most recently, we've seen the Ravens, who they hired two or I believe three analytics people last year. And again, we, I mean, we know that there was a lot of talent on that team. So that has to do. But I believe, as you mentioned before we got on air, Jimmy, that they were the highest in fourth, going for it on fourth downs last year.
They went for it a lot, that's for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. So again, it's just random, like little stats like that they look into in different things that determine how maybe a team may play out. So again, I know you know a little bit more about this, Jimmy. So what were your thoughts on the Lions bringing in a little bit more analytics?
Yeah, I love to hear this because I love analytics, especially when it comes to game day management.
Hmm.
Sheila Fordham, during her introductory press conference, mentioned analytics as well, that she wanted to get to know the analytic team better.
Yeah.
So hopefully, this is a sign that the Lions really fully embrace analytics in game day strategy.
Hmm.
And the two most glaring examples of game day strategy are fourth down and going for it on 2 point conversions.
Hmm.
As far as going for on fourth down, almost all NFL teams are way too conservative in this.
Hmm.
There used to be this New York Times bot, which had its own Twitter feed, which would in real time tell teams whether they should go for it on fourth down or not. Well, almost always teams wouldn't be going for it on fourth down when they really should have been.
Yeah.
So that's something I'm going to be really keeping an eye going forward on this season to see if we see any game day strategy changes
Hmm.
and seeing the Lions go for it more on fourth downs.
Yeah.
The other one was going for it on 2 point conversions.
Hmm.
The past two seasons, we've seen teams convert 2 point conversions at a 49.4% rate. Unfortunately, according to Pro Football Reference, the Lions are 0 for 7 in the past 2 years.
Hmm.
And I'm not a math major, but I'm pretty sure that's a 0%. So unfortunately, we need to get that closer to 50% before we can even use a lot of this analytics and statistical probabilities as far as going for on the 2 point conversions. But we
Exactly.
did see a big change last year in the Cowboys game. The Lions were down 14. They scored a touchdown to close it to 8, and they went for two, which, from a statistical standpoint, is the right move. There was some controversy at the time, but no question, statistically, is the right move, assuming you're converting at close to 50%,
Yeah.
which unfortunately the Lions are not. That the Lions weren't groundbreaking in that standpoint, though. There were multiple teams that went for it when they went for 2 points when they were down by 8.
Yeah.
So this is starting to be a trend in the NFL that teams are starting to really understand statistics and math probabilities more and doing the right thing as far
Hmm.
as going for two. It's also interesting that it's a good idea to go for two when you're down by 4 points as well.
Hmm.
So there's these little quirks in math that teams can take advantage of if they have a good understanding of statistics and analytics.
Yeah, I know this is kind of a little bit irrelevant, but almost anyone who plays Madden enough, plays it consistently enough, can know
Yeah.
that again is pretty good with analytics. Again, with points like that, okay, if I go for a 2 point here, I'll only need a field goal on the next drive to get ahead, and just all little quirky things like that. That I know Madden players can't be analytics professionals for an NFL team, but it's all little things like that. And then, as you mentioned earlier, it also takes the execution power on the team to be able to actually do it. Just because it's the smart idea to go for a 2 point conversion doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to execute it every single time and you have the talent to do it every single play.
Yeah, with the Lions' poor running game over the past 10 years, going for on fourth downs and going for 2 point conversions might not be the best idea because they're so bad at short yardage conversions.
Hmm.
But hopefully, with DeAndre Swift and Kerryon Johnson and this real strong emphasis by Bob Quinn on the running game, maybe that'll improve.
Again, we'll just have to wait and see. That's all we say every episode, but hopefully these new analytics coaches will help put a big improvement on the team. If anything, I think we'll see more of again, as you mentioned, on offense. We're going to see more of a change on offense than on defense. I mean, obviously, we got a new defensive coordinator, which we discussed last episode, so we're already going to see a lot of changes, more blitz schemes possibly in our defense. But I think that these analytics guys are going to help more with the offense and how often they go for it or what type of play or how many personnel they run against certain types of defense, all that type of stuff is more or less what they're going to be going for.